Hey Vault Hunters, and welcome back to another Borderlands 4 video. In today's video I'm talking all about the Vex status effect crit build. I'm updating my build that I posted for you guys a while back. This is after the huge patch notes that we got today, fixing a lot of the bugs, including Vex's bleed bug. I wanted to get on and make sure that my build worked just as well without the bleed build. We weren't using crit knife anyway, but I'm happy to report that the build works just fine. And I'm gonna go kind of quickly through this build because I did post the status effect crit build a month ago. The build and the gameplay and everything remains the same. You're going to use your specters a lot just to get a lot of damage out there. However, we're changing a couple things up with the gear. This is based on a couple of quality of life things that I found and some ways to kind of push the damage a little bit further. So for bossing, I'm sure you've seen in the gameplay, we're going to be using a lot of Stellium Maliwan shotguns. These are great for dot damage, especially if you can find a shotgun, because this has the highest dot value in the game. So you can get these really high. I just have a blue one. I don't have a purple one yet, but keep your eye out for Maliwan Stellium shotguns. They're going to give you a lot of nice high dot damage. However, we are using specters, so they're going to proc what they want to proc basically in this build. But the beam tosser alt fire is what you want to look for bossing. I found that this is kind of the most consistent against the vault bosses, but if you're fighting any of the smaller bosses like the big encore machine, weekly bosses, stuff like that, you might not have to go as far as use the beam tosser. The bod or a shotgun or something will work just fine. However, for bigger enemies, the beam tossers are going to be great. We're going to pair that with a Maliwan enhancement. You're going to want to look for mixologist is the enhancement that give you 10% damage from the inactive mode's element, and then you want to look for gun damage as well. And then status effect damage would kind of be your second choice synthesizer for the Maliwan. And remember, this is for bossing. We're going to switch it up a little bit for mobbing, but for the Repkit, we're going to want to use a purple Repkit with something like amp and enrage, or elemental damage and amp, something like that for our beam tossers to get a nice boost of damage. I actually don't have one on me at the moment, so in the boss clips that you're seeing, I did not have that on me, so that would add a lot more damage to this build. And then the other change that we're going to make for bossing is we're going to be using the Protean Cell. Now, Protean Cell gives you 40% bonus shock damage, which is amazing, but the cool part about this shield is that it counts for dot damage, so it's going to give you bonus shock damage to all of your dots, all of your damage, all of your elemental damage, and all of your gun damage. So it's really a lot better than Watts for Dinner. However, it is a little bit scarier because damage that you take is going to pass through your shield. So you're able to keep it, we're able to keep it up almost all of the time because we're switching to Teen Witch from our purple class mod. Before we were using Alchemist, and now we're going to be using Teen Witch. It's just really the best overall shield for Vex. It gives you so much sustainability, so much overshield, and you can really use it with Protean Cell, or you could swap over to Super Soldier or Watts for Dinner. If you have an amp Watts for Dinner, that would be ideal. It's extremely hard to farm for, so good luck. But you want an amp or you want that bonus damage. That's why everybody's using Watts for Dinner, because it's bonus damage and amp. As far as I know, the Protean Cell, you cannot get amp on it. I believe that capacity is the best roll. I've only been able to get a couple different perks on it. The Nova always rolls on it, so I think that's why you can't get certain rolls, but let me know in the comments down below if I am wrong about that. And then for mobbing, we're going to want either the Protean Cell. If you feel like this is too squishy while mobbing, then you could switch to Watts for Dinner or something like that. Super Soldier, Sparky Shield is great. Any of those will work just fine. And then for mobbing, my go-to is always the bod. It just performs really well, especially if you can get an enhancement that has all 3 gun damages on it, like this one, or maybe a crit damage thrown in there. However, we're going to also be using the COV enhancement with duct tape. So we're going to be using duct tape with a gun damage on there, and that's going to give us a critical hit chance when we have this bod overheating. If you have the COV license magazine part on your bod, whenever it overheats, it's going to get 100% crit chance. So this is kind of the best way to get extra damage with this setup. And then for our ordnance, we're using the rocket socket. You can get this in multiple different elements. I don't have any on me right now, but if you could find this in a different element, that would probably work really well because it would proc other things in our skill tree. These Malawan rocket launchers are also really fun to use. The streamer is a really fun legendary if you wanted to farm that as well, but those are fun weapons to use. And then of course we've got our satchel charge, which is what I used in my first video. And then for firmware, we want to get at least 2 heating up, preferably 3, but right now I just don't have that set up. And then we want a 2 out of 3 high caliber for that 10% gun damage, which I believe is multiplicative. So that's going to give us a nice damage boost there. Moving on to our specializations, we've got the best defense is giving us 30% capacity whenever our shield is full, which is always going to be full thanks to Teen Witch. So we have a way to get a lot of shield, a lot of overshield, a lot of health. It's just a really good sustain build. So this 30% damage is going to be up a lot. And then we've got now with caffeine, this helps us get our specters back. It's really nice to have if you're doing a lot of mobbing, like you're doing driller sites or something like that. If you're doing bossing, you could probably swap off of this and swap over to something like Bullet Train would be a great one. Or if you have one shot, one kill, that could be good for ad clearing as well if you don't feel like you need the cooldown. But I thought the cooldown was just a nice quality of life. So that's a change from my previous build. And then Riddle You This, of course, is just a gimme. And then Contamination, which is going to give us the chance to apply status effects on our crits. So once we get 10 crits, we have a guaranteed status effect application chance, basically, if it hasn't procced. All right, let's take a look at our skill tree, starting with Blue Dead Ringer. This is our action skill. We're going to be spawning in Spectres for the gun damage. In the first row, we're going to be taking 3 out of 3 Idle Hands for the reload speed, 2 out of 5 into Sanguine Fiends. This is going to allow our minions to get health back and us whenever we proc kill skills, which we're going to be proccing kill skills a lot thanks to Mortal Terror and our abilities to have our dot damage actually crit. So this is going to be a theme in this skill tree. You'll see a lot of kill skills. Grave Assault is another kill skill giving us fire rate. We've got Grave Fiends, another kill skill, and Grave Quickening, another kill skill that's giving us action skill cooldown rate, damage for us and our minions. And then we've got 1 and 2 activating kill skills whenever our minions die. So that's another way that we can get those kill skills as well. And then moving down to the bottom tree, we've got a 5 out of 5 Prismatic Ichor giving us another random status effect, and 5 out of 5 into Keen Suffering giving us a chance to have our status effects critically hit, 20% chance there. And then over to Prismatic Weaponry, this is going to give us just a little bit of bonus damage in a different elemental type. For our capstone, we're going Heirloom, and then we've got Coven as our augment. This is giving us additional crit damage, which is going to help feed back in to that kill skill loop. So looking at the green tree, we have 5 out of 5 Grave Sights. They did fix gun handling, so you're not going to get a negative to gun handling anymore. It was slowing down projectiles by a lot, so they fixed that bug. So going 5 out of 5 in here is just a must. We did this a month ago as well, but we're going 5 out of 5 there, 5 out of 5 in Bloodletter, which is the same. 3 out of 3 into Grave Power is the same. I decided to put 2 into Material Components versus the 2 into Target Prescience. I think this is just a better way to go. We get a little more damage out of it. And then moving down to the middle here, I actually went and put 5 points into Keen Mind for our skill damage to critically hit. With this build, you're not really doing that much direct gun damage. Now, for a bossing build, maybe you would want to put 5 here instead of 5 here, but this overall is just going to allow for all of your skill damage to critically hit, including your bleed procs, including all of your specter damage, and then our last 3 points in Immortal Terror, allowing us to activate kill skills when critically hitting enemies. All right, so I will show you guys how the Protean Shield works. So I put out specters. I just did 3 kinetics so you guys can see any bonus extra damage we're getting. But what we're going to want to do is you're going to want to slam down to activate it. You can see the yellow shield in the bottom left corner there. That means that it's activated, and now all of your damage is going to be getting shock damage. So you can see the extra shock damage there. So when I use like the beam tosser is going to be getting extra shock damage. All your hits are going to be getting extra shock damage. Of course, while this is happening, your shield is draining, so you can see my shield kind of drain and come back. Now we can see it really draining because nobody's doing any damage, but as long as you're doing damage, you can keep that shield up. So it's a nice way just to get extra damage. Obviously, the more big numbers you're putting out, like with Ordnance or with big shotguns, you're going to be doing more damage with the bonus. So that's why it's nice to have these beam tossers, because you can see you get double damage on the beam tosser and you get double dot damage. And then to turn it off, you just have to slam down again, or it will turn off when your shield hits 0. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want to micromanage that type of stuff, you could just switch to Watts for Dinner or a Super Soldier or something like that, but just keep in mind that that's not going to count. Any of your dot damage or anything like that is not going to count for that extra 25%. You're just going to get extra shock when you do weapon damage, so that's from the Watts for Dinner, but your Spectre's not going to get it and your dots won't get it either. Alright, so that was probably the quickest build video I've ever put together for Borderlands. Please check out my first status effect crit build. I will link it down below in the pinned comment if you want to see a more in-depth guide on the gameplay style. But this is my favorite Spectre build, my best Vex Spectre build by far to date. It's so much fun to play. I love running around with it. It's just a good all-arounder. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe for more Borderlands 4 videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.